Hello everyone and welcome back to JB's Settle Gaming, where today we're going to take a look at the Acceltra and the Akarius. So these are the two new weapons with the mainline update along with Gauss. That is how it's pronounced. Do not trust Space Mom's pronunciation, we'll just say that. So, I actually don't know how DE is officially pronouncing it, but that's how you pronounce like Gauss rifle. But anyways, we're not showing off with Gauss because I am currently building it because I'm not a Warframe partner. I will say this up front. If you enjoyed the video at all, please like, share, comment. That helps with visibility. The more subscribers I can get, the more likely I can eventually become a Warframe partner and get these things more quickly and easily and do these videos more quickly and easily. So I do appreciate it. So these weapons are super interesting and they both have some similar mechanisms. So as a board gamer, I tend to say mechanisms and not mechanics. That's a whole nother long story. So you can see the primary weapon here. It burst fires if you tap, which can be useful, and I do suggest using it sometimes on occasion, but it can also auto fire. And you can also see, if you're far enough away, it creates an AoE explosion. Not a massive one, but pretty cool. So again, if you're within a certain distance, it doesn't, and further away it does. Alright, the secondary weapon works the same way. So you can see here, oh, we do need to pick up some ammo for it, that would help. We were testing some things earlier, so now let's try this. So we fire, and we get this bigger AoE explosion with the primary. Up close it doesn't. Further away, boom, big explosions. Now, this one reloads kind of slowly, okay? Now, I do have a reload mod on it. However, if we reload while running, if we sprint, it reloads more quickly. So that's an interesting little thing. Both weapons work this way, and Gauss's passive with these weapons is that he also reloads them more quickly. Pretty interesting. So let's take a look at how they actually function. So this is my build right now. This is by no means, and we'll show off the secondary one first, the Akarius. This is by no means something you have to do. For me personally, and if you don't have Prime Quick Draw, you can obviously use a different reload speed mod, but this is the one I'm currently using. Without this on, this fires really slow, or reloads really slow. You can see 3.4 seconds. Again, you can make it a little bit faster, and Gauss can make it even faster than that by sprinting while reloading. But for me, I do not enjoy using this weapon without a reload mod on it. Of course, you're going to do less damage. You're taking up a mod spot by using it, but for me, the usability matters. I also have Auger Pack on here instead of, say, a 90% mod. You can see this is a status weapon. Its critical chance is very low. Outside of Harrow or some additive abilities, I don't really suggest building this for crit. So with our status, though, we're at 93%, basically using two 60-60 mods here, going for corrosive. Now, if we, add another 90 mod here, say an electric 90 mod or something like that, we'll bring our corrosive up, which will make it proc more often instead of blast, which is a nice thing, because, blast is not something most Warframe players tend to care about all that much. However, I would have to format again to do that. This is only a 2 forma build. I've put 2 V's on it. It starts with 2 dashes. So that's part of the reason I went with Auger Pack. And again, I would have to use another forma if I want to put something else in there. But for right now, this is a 2 forma build that I personally like. And of course, Lethal Torrent, Barrel Diffusion, and Hornet Strike, as you would expect on almost any pistol build. So let's go ahead and show this one off first. Alright, so now bear in mind, this is a secondary weapon, and we're going to be going for body shots and just rapid firing to see what this weapon can do. And you can see that blast is definitely something that can help you out against high-level targets. It's, going to knock enemies down. So again, you can go to try to get more corrosive if you want, but for a weapon that is, here, let's go ahead and move more quickly and reload more quickly. But for, I believe both these weapons are MR8, that's a lot of damage on body shots on level 100 Corrupted Heavy Gunners. This is where I tend to show off weapon builds. It's what you would face kind of in Sortie 3, and these are very tanky, highly armored enemies. This weapon does some damage. The bad parts about this weapon, the reload speed. I personally feel like you have to put you don't have to, but for me to use it, I would want a reload mod on it. And the ammo economy. This does not have a lot of stuff. 10 shots and it fires 2 with each shot, and then 25 left over. You also want to have with this potentially carrier or carrier prime pretty much all the time if you're going to use this a lot, in my opinion. Again, you can put a mod on it that will convert ammunition, but again, you're taking another mod space as well, especially if you're already using a reload spot, a mod for reloading. So that is my suggestion. Now, what we are going to do, though, is we are going to show off a gas build as well, because this weapon did pretty well against tanky enemies. So we now are going to, let's do some corpus text here. Now, let's go ahead and show off what this weapon can do against enemies with a gas build, because again, this is a status build. So as you might expect, this does good stuff. Those were level 100 corpus techs. Yeah, so this weapon is pretty fun. The main problem with this weapon is usability. It has a horrible ammo economy. You basically need carrier prime or a mod that you probably don't want to use the mod space for. But as you can see, it completely tears up corpus enemies and functions pretty well against grenadier enemies. I mean, just look at those numbers: 9,000 corrosive, 6,000 blast, and 1,000 impact. Now, it's my understanding that the impact is when it hits. You do not get that blast effect if it doesn't travel a certain distance, so you won't get that blast damage as well. So you want to make sure you're at least a little bit of a distance from your enemies. So hey, pretty cool. I did not like this weapon at first. The reload was awful. It didn't seem that great to me, but after I realized I had to be a certain distance and I got the status up, and we started getting a proper build on it with the reload, I ended up really enjoying this weapon quite a bit. So let's show off the Acceltra or whatever it is. The Acceltra. Okay, so this is the build I currently have on it. So this is kind of the opposite. This has a good critical chance. It has critical multiplier and all that. It has pretty low status chance, so you can build more for status if you want. So you could go with the 60 mods instead of the 90 mods. Now, I went with the 90s. I went for as big a damage as possible, and as you can see here on this, this is a 4 forma build. It's only a 2 forma build on this with the 2 dash polarities in it already. This also has 2 dash polarity, or excuse me, I believe it just has 1 dash polarity, and then we put 4 V's on it here. So things you would expect on a crit build, split chamber, point strike. Now, I do want to point out, though, with this one here, one thing I didn't talk about is Magnum Force. So you do lose some accuracy with this one, but this is an AoE weapon with a big area of explosion. I do not mind Magnum Force on this weapon. However, on this weapon, when trying to use heavy caliber, I just, probably because the AoE explosion is less, I just found it less usable. I just felt like I was missing more often. It's up to you. I personally feel like the minus in damage is fine for the secondary. I did not like it for the primary. It was okay. You can try it out for yourself and see what you think. Again, these builds aren't meant to be definitive builds, but the things you would expect on a crit build with Point Strike and Vital Sense. Again, you can use this if you want to. This one here, and again, I went with the 90 mods. I went, just for more multi-shot, trying to do as much damage as possible. And then you can see we also have an additional 660 mod on here, again, to bring the corrosive damage up. But again, we're not too worried about proccing status on this. There are definitely different ways you can go with this as well. For example, you could do a Hunter Munitions build. It's a crit weapon. Hunter Munitions works on it just fine, like you would expect. You can also do bladed rounds. So on this build right here, you can see we still have corrosive. This personally is probably what I would suggest going with, okay, if you have bladed rounds. So it's an on-kill effect, 100%, 120% more critical damage when aiming. I tend to not aim a lot. You could also go with, where's the headshot one here? Sorry about that, getting multiple calls while trying to do the video, but Argon Scope, this is not all that accurate of a weapon. I would not necessarily suggest Argon Scope, or I would suggest bladed rounds. On-kill effects are going to be easy enough to get if you like to aim, but hey, I don't aim a lot. So that's why I personally, again, I want to encourage you, go with the build that you enjoy. So for me personally, I decided to go with a little bit more status on here, and with this build right here, more multi-shot. There are definitely ways you could go, and again, 100 munitions, I personally found a little bit disappointing on this weapon. It was fine, but it wasn't as effective as, at least for me personally, I didn't feel like it was as effective as it is on some other builds. If you have it, you can try it out for yourself, but, and again, bladed rounds, pretty much excellent on any crit weapon if you want to go with that, but I don't necessarily like aiming, and this isn't a super accurate weapon anyway. So let's go ahead and get rid of these guys and bring back the corrupted heavy gunners. So now with this, again, you want to bear in mind, if you just, I actually didn't even realize this was an automatic weapon for a while. If you just tap, you'll do a burst fire with it, which is something you may want to do more often than you would think, because when you go full auto, things get crazy and people get knocked around. You're not getting those blast procs that you are with the other weapons, so you're not necessarily knocking enemies down as much, but you are knocking enemies around as we jump off the edge here. So again, this weapon also very effective. Again, you can use it as a burst weapon if you want. If you like aiming, go with bladed rounds in my opinion, and do even more damage. And again, level 100 corrupted heavy gunners, and we took them out pretty readily. But as you can see, not the most pinpoint accurate weapon, which is why I personally am not big on going with the headshot, but bladed rounds I think would be excellent on this. So what do I think about these weapons? Are they worth the, to grind to get? Well, honestly, I don't find those new missions, not there's a lot more of them, that annoying. It's a new mission type. I think it's a relatively enjoyable mission type, and I think both of these weapons are pretty fun. I think you are going to need a little bit more forma investment in the Acceltra in order to really get good results. And again, you can get a more efficient build than the one I have, but this is for my usability, how I like to play. But both of them are very effective. I do highly suggest a reload mod on this one. And again, you can have a lot of fun with gas builds on this one in particular as well. And they're both effective weapons. In general, kind of rocket launcher style weapons. Not that either of them are really like a rocket launcher in the classic sense, but it's kind of that style of weapon is not something that there's a lot of options, not a lot of good options in Warframe, but both of these weapons are, effective damage dealing weapons. Only 2 forma in this one, 4 in this one, to do a lot of damage, have a lot of fun stuff. And if you like gameplay where you like to move around, if you like doing AoE damage, then hey, both of these weapons, offer that to you. Again, in particular with the secondary one, you do have to worry about the usability on it. However, especially with a reload mod on it, I find both of these weapons a lot of fun to play. These are not necessarily weapons for people that like to be super precise. You can see from further away, we'll get that AoE blast. But for people to just want to blow a bunch of stuff up. And every once in a while, even if you like to play with super precise weapons and go for headshots, it's probably fun to do some AoE and mess around with it a little bit. And these are weapons that you can use for, AoE missions against the infested, but they're also powerful enough that you can bring against a Grineer on higher level missions. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Hopefully that was informative and enjoyable. Like I said, if it is, I appreciate any help for the channel, liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting to increase visibility. It'll help me out quite a bit. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and we will talk to you again soon.